Welcome to Seven Figures and Beyond with your host, Greg Shuey, your e-commerce marketing expert.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Seven Figures and Beyond e-commerce marketing podcast. I hope everyone is absolutely crushing it today. I'm super pumped because I have one of my good buddies on with us today. His name is John Doherty and his business is Editor Ninja. So John and I have grown up in the SEO and the content marketing industry together over the last 20 or so years. And to put it very short, we've been through a lot in those 20 years. Countless algorithm updates, the rise and fall of massive SEO agencies, new technologies getting replaced and falling by the wayside. I mean, you think of it, you name it, right? Like it has been a lot. And as we think back over the last, 15, 20 years, the one thing that has remained constant over time is the need for really great content that is optimized not only for the search engines, but also for the users. I mean, that has been a big focus over the last 5 to 10 years is it can't just be optimized for SEO. It has to be optimized for the user as well. And so it's a critical component of your e-commerce marketing strategy is that content piece. When we think to the search engine side, right, the search engines absolutely have to have content on page to really understand what that page is about. As they go through and they crawl that page, if they don't have that content on, your landing pages, your category pages, your product pages, they just can't figure out what it's about. And they can't figure out how to rank you for specific search queries that your potential customers might be looking for. And it really leaves them guessing, and that either results in low rankings or it results in the wrong pages being ranked altogether, which just provides for a poor user experience. So in our discussion today, we're going to be talking about the 3 types of content that every e-commerce business needs in order to thrive. Not just survive, but actually thrive, especially right now when times are a little bit tough. And I know that a lot of brand owners question the value of content. It's a discussion that I have all the time as I'm talking to potential customers is like, do I really need this content? Yes, you do. So we're going to unpack this and really help you understand what you need, why you need it, and what it should do for your business. And I'm excited. So let's jump in. John, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Greg. That was a great introduction. I always love hearing the overviews of other practitioners in the space. So, stoked to be here, man. It's been, as you said, we've known each other a long time. So it's good to be on this and get to chop it up again. It's been too long.
Yeah, it has. So before we jump in, will you just take a few moments to introduce yourself to our listeners and share a little bit about your personal story and how you've gotten to where you are today?
Yeah, for sure. So, on the personal side, which is, I think, the most important side for a person and a professional, I live in Denver, Colorado, so just to the east of Greg, one state over. And I'm married, been married to Courtney for 10 and a half years, have 2 kids who are 5 and almost 10 months old. Love it here. Love it here in Denver. Professionally, I started my career as a web developer. Helped run a publishing company from Europe, from Switzerland for a couple of years. Then I came back to the States, went in-house with a couple of different agencies, including SEO agency Distilled. So worked on a lot of large websites, kind of where I started really working on, I call them very large websites, a lot of technical SEO and that sort of stuff. So 1 million+ pages in Google's index was when I was just doing SEO was kind of my specialty. I went in-house for a couple of years with Zillow, where I led marketing on hotpads.com and then Trulia Rentals briefly for a few months. And then long story short, I got laid off and I started building my last agency, which is called Credo, getcredo.com, doing lead generation for marketing agencies like Stride. We worked with Greg and the team for quite a while. And I ran that for a number of years. And I eventually sold that in September of 2022. So almost 2 years now. And I've been building Editor Ninja since then. I actually started Editor Ninja before I sold Credo, but moved on to it full time around the start of 2023. And we've edited almost 10 million words since then. So we have a great team of editors and lead editors and project managers and all of that. And we're, I like to say that we edit great content at scale. So we're not offshoring it, but we're working with teams, marketing agencies, especially some publishers and such as well. We do some books, but most of our content it's SEO blog content, and content that's meant to rank. So all of our editors have some education in SEO as well. And really, we're trying to take good content and make it great and do it at scale. Working with with each of our clients or customers, personalizing our editing to them, to their style guides, their tone of voice, all that sort of stuff. So, so it's a lot of fun. I love thinking about content and talking about content. I started blogging in 1999. And I wrote my first and only book to this point, though I'm working on my first real business book. I wrote that when I was 9 or 10 years old. So I've been a writer and just content creator for a really, really long time. And so love talking about content, love seeing brands that are building, love seeing companies that are building their brand using content as well. So.
That's amazing. Well, again, thank you for joining us. I'm excited to hear, because you see a lot of brands and you see the type of content they're producing, and you have a lot more insight at scale than I do. So it's going to be a fun discussion. So let's start out by talking about the types of content that an e-commerce brand absolutely positively must have on their website. So can you share what you're seeing from your side? Like, what are people ordering? You move a lot of content. So what are they asking for?
Yeah, so there's quite a few things, and over the last couple of years, as I've been doing this full time, we've been increasingly kind of focusing down on the kind of content that we're best at. All of our editors most of our editors have dual masters, so they're professionally trained and hard into like style guides, like AP or MLA, that sort of stuff. Though a lot of the brands that we work with, a lot of the agencies we work with, don't really have one yet, and so we actually help them get those together as well to really firm up what the tone and voice of the content that they're putting out for all of their lawyer clients are, like that sort of stuff. And then also with brands, companies, in-house marketing teams, et cetera, tend to have a much better take on like what their content looks like and have much better examples. So, with those, the kinds of content we edit kind of break down into, there's really four that I think about when it comes to writing specifically. And then there's kind of a fifth one. The four that I think about that we see a lot are, number one is just business related content. So press releases, white papers, case studies, like that sort of stuff, really highly produced stuff. Then we get educational content. So that's more like blog content, resource pages, resource sections, that kind of thing. And then we see for e-commerce specifically, like category pages. So, adding in good, unique, topic-focused, helpful content at scale. We've worked with a couple of teams, a couple of companies that do that as well, using AI and then applying a human editing layer. And then product pages, and a lot of that is just making sure that descriptions are, they're unique, they're free of typos, all that sort of stuff. There's one study that was done in the UK that I believe it was 76% of polled respondents said that they would be less likely to buy from a brand if there was one typo that they saw on the product page.
Wow.
So this stuff matters, and honestly, I have a hard time selling it to people and really making people care. But man, you look at that and like any e-commerce, entrepreneur, man, if literally 3/4 of the people coming on the page are less likely to buy, even if it's 5% less likely or 10% less likely,
it's huge.
That it's huge. It's huge. And that can make or break like the profitability of your campaigns, the ability to scale and all of that. And in like in a downturn and in downtimes, it can literally mean profit or not and keeping your doors open or not. Right. Yeah. So it's absolutely huge. And then the fifth one, which isn't really it's hard to do in e-commerce with written content, but I call it brand building content. So this is like video content. These are like the Red Bulls and such of the world, but you also don't need a Red Bull like budget in order to do content well. And we'll talk about that more, that this is where I see content going, especially like video content, and then written content is kind of going in a different direction. But those are kind of the buckets that we see, and the ones we really deal the most with are like business related content, so press releases and newsletters and letters to investors and like that sort of stuff when we're working with like nonprofits, and then educational content, so good educational blog content at scale.
Cool. Awesome. So can we take just a minute and kind of unpack each one of those and dive into what should go in to these pieces of content?
Yeah, we can. So I think kind of the main ones to talk about are, especially as it relates to content and SEO, are really like the educational content and then your category page content.
Yep.
But talk about like business related content, press releases, white papers, case studies, that sort of stuff. This is the kind of thing, like if you're, so let me put it in context. Blog content usually costs somewhere between, depending on like the length of the article and if it's subject matter expert and turnaround time and all that stuff, there's all these things kind of go into the pricing. Usually somewhere in the like $400 to $600 range, sometimes a little bit more, kind of depending on the brand and the competitiveness and all this sort of stuff. But usually it's in that realm. A case study is going to run you in the thousands, right? Yeah. Press releases are going to be are obviously aren't, but white papers, case studies, et cetera, they're going to cost you in the thousands of dollars. And these are the ones that you're really relying on to help you convert people, right?
Yep.
And in the and that's a lot in like the B2B realm, which is mainly where Editor Ninja swims. So we've definitely worked with e-commerce companies and agencies working with e-commerce that are producing, content at scale for SEO purposes. But white papers or or just more like highly produced content like this, especially like press releases. They have a very strict, as I said, they're going to cost you more. At least press releases are not, but the style has to be perfect, right? Like there's a specific editing style. Usually it's AP styles. You can get away with using the Oxford comma as well, right? Which is a comma when there's sets of three. It's like first one comma, second one comma, and then the third one. And the Oxford comma has become like quite widely accepted, even in press releases. So, but strict AP style has to be adhered to. So we have PR teams that we work with that hired us because they're all trained in AP style. There's like 6 or 7 of them, but they were putting out press releases that weren't like perfect AP style. And so they were getting rejected. And so literally they hired us basically to make sure that they're perfect. Yeah. So like those, it really, really matters. The polish really matters. Educational and blog content, like how-tos and that sort of stuff, is it's definitely more, I would say it's more effective in B2B, but it can work really well in e-commerce as well. And you look at brands like REI or even backcountry.com and ones like that in the past, they invested quite a bit into more like educational content, and like written content that also includes videos and that sort of stuff. How to put up a tent, how to find a campsite, like that sort of stuff. I'm big into the outdoors world. So like that's kind of stuff I think about. So like that sort of stuff. I mean, that's straight, like it's meant for the user, but it's also straight SEO content, right? So well optimized headings and, make sure you're hitting not only the keywords, but also like what are the search engines and users, what are they going to expect, right? Like if you're talking about like, finding a campsite, like, or not even that, let's think about something like product focus. You're thinking about like, how to pick a pair of skis. Like if you're not mentioning any brands, right? You're not mentioning like DPS or Line or Icelantic or whoever, like that's stuff that the search engines and users expect to see, right? Yeah. So it's much more like topic focused and super helpful. And then on category pages is kind of the big one that I see a lot of e-commerce brands need to be investing more in, is because these are the ones that are like, and Greg, this even better than I do. Like these are the ones that are going to drive a lot of your qualified like purchase intent traffic. But having unique content, like images and reviews and that sort of stuff, but also just like blurbs about like, what's like if you're trying to rank for example, Icelantic skis for sale, right? Icelantic is based in Golden, right near me. And I know one of their co-founders, and they're a Colorado brand. If you're backcountry.com or a smaller site and you're trying to rank for Icelantic skis for sale, having the history of Icelantic on that page, right? Who are the founders of Icelantic? Like that's the stuff that the search engines are going to expect to see. And that also people looking to buy, especially like, in the outdoor space, like they're going to resonate with that. Why was it created, right? It was created by 3 dudes from Evergreen that grew up skiing on skis that didn't fit their free ride style. Right? Like straight up, that's who they are. And so like, and those are the people that want to buy it. Right. And so they want to know that like, this is made by skiers for skiers like me, for example. Yep. So producing that content and also then producing that content at scale, when you have thousands of these pages, then the question comes, what makes sense, right? How much should you, which of these pages should you be putting it on, like that sort of stuff. So yeah, those are kind of like those are the big ones that I really think about when it comes to written content, especially like content for SEO.
Yeah. And I think, one of the things that I do when I look at like what needs to go into these pages is you just go look at the SERP, right? Type in the
Mm-hmm.
keyword that you're trying to rank for, look at the SERP, dive into each of the, top 5 pieces and see how long are they? What are they talking about? What kind of media are they including, so that you can really get a handle on that, and then almost emulate it and then try to make it better. If you
Yeah.
make it better and more impactful and more resourceful and helpful, you're going to have a better opportunity to rank.
Well, and especially now, post like helpful content update, or
Yep.
and I have some strong thoughts around like what that was actually meant to target, and
Yep.
why from Google's perspective. But gone are the days of walls of text. They're just not like, it's just not going to work, and especially in something like e-commerce. It's so visual and it's so like identity based and that kind of thing. Like you go and you look at not only just the pieces that are ranking, but also the search result itself. And
Yeah.
that can tell you like, if they're showing images high up, like you got to have a lot of images on your category pages, right? And then like make them load fast and all that sort of stuff, high quality imagery, that kind of thing. But videos and all of that, right? Like, yeah, you produce a video, it goes on your category page, but also goes on YouTube, and then you can kind of double stack, right? Like that's all. And that's all content, I actually have a hot take that like, content other than like content strictly for SEO it's not a marketing channel.
Right.
It's just marketing collateral that is used in all of your other channels.
Yep.
So I think that's a better like mindset and like frame to think about it through. And so like when you're thinking about, okay, so we need content on this page, what kind of content is it? Then I think what you said is a great way to do it.
Awesome. Cool. So one of the questions I get all the time, I like almost every day, right, is how much content should I be producing on a monthly basis? I hate that question, because most people that I talk to are like, yeah, I want to do 2 blog posts a month, and that's just not enough. So how do you gauge that when you're asked that question?
Yeah. So what I try to do when I'm asked that question is I ask them questions back. I'm like, well, what are your goals? What are you trying to do here? Are you trying to get another 100 visits a month? You're trying to get another 10,000 visits a month, right?
Right.
And then they tell me, or they give their like answer, whether they thought about it or not. It's like making them think about it. And then from there, we can actually talk strategy and how much, should be created. I like to ask questions around like, what are your competitors doing? Right. And it's just like, it's simple math that like, if your competitors are producing more than you, they have the same like potential like traffic volume and like conversion, like they're going after the same customers. Right. So everything is the same except for like how much content they're producing. If they're producing 10 pieces and you're producing 2 pieces, like in a year's time, they're going to produce 120 and you're going to produce 24, right? Yep. Like they're just straight up going to be able to target more keywords and more topics and all of that than you are. And so, you're not really going to be able to compete. And then over time, that gap just gets like worse and worse. So, and then also like with the results, right? Okay. How much traffic are you looking to get? Especially educational content, it converts at a lower percentage than like straight, like, Icelandic skis for sale, right? Yeah. How to size your skis, that traffic, yeah, it might be more volume wise, but it's going to convert a lot less than like someone actually searching for like a brand or something like that. So, we also try to take that into account. Like, do you have any numbers around that? Okay, well, let's say like studies tell us that it's like 0.5% of that traffic is going to buy something in the first 30 days, as opposed to like 5% coming to your category pages. So how much revenue do you need to make from this? Right. I actually like to take it back to not just like traffic focus, but really like business focus. And it's like, is this actually going to help you meet your business goals in the time that you need to see those results? Yeah. And then I try to set their expectations around like how much it costs and budget and, how long it's going to take to kind of scale it up and that kind of thing. Cause if you've never done content before, you don't have like topic research, you don't have keyword research, like all of that. You don't have the team built for a strategist and a writer and an editor and a marketer, right, to actually promote it. That stuff all takes time. And so also setting their expectations around like, look, let's like minimum that I think a brand, like a 7-figure, especially brand, should be creating is minimum 2 pieces a week, minimum. And that's like educational, like blog content, right? And then looking at like bigger pieces, so like white papers or case studies or videos or whatever, like really like to move the needle for like a 7-figure brand with content. It's going to take some time, so it's going to take some patience, 3-4 months to really like see much at all. And then also, so it's just going to take that time. And then like figuring out what really resonates and getting the team in place and all that, like scaling it up, over time and really aiming for, I would say 10, 12, 15 pieces a month is really like what it's going to take if you want to succeed with content in e-commerce.
Yeah, I'll even add the caveat in, even if your competitors aren't doing content, you need to be doing it, right?
Yeah.
Because that's another thing that I hear is, my top 3 online competitors, they look like me and they're not really doing blog content. Well, do we want to start creating a lot of momentum and making it so they can't catch you at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. One other thing I want to say there, Greg, is if a brand hasn't done it before and they're in a space like, I mean, if you're hearing this all the time, like I would really talk about, and like for e-commerce owners, like speaking to them specifically, like if you're producing, say you want to produce, 10 pieces a month for the next like 12 months, right? Let's just keep the math easy. 120 pieces. The faster you can create those 120 pieces, especially for SEO focused content, the better. So so don't think about like, okay, we're kind of going to like scale it up. And then like by the end of 12 months, we're going to be producing like 15, 18 pieces a month just because you start at 2 or 3, like just the averages means you're going to have to produce that much more at the end in order to hit that goal of number of pieces of content. But if you can get out like 50 pieces in the first 2 months, 3 months, like that's going to do so much more for you because it's going to get indexed, it's topical authority, all that sort of stuff. And then after 3-4 months, you're going to start to see a pop, as opposed to if you're ramping it up, it's going to take quite a while. And then you're probably going to stop investing in it before you see the pop. And then you're going to regret stopping investing in it. Right. So the more you can produce up front, the better.
I love it. Awesome. So one of the things that you mentioned is promoting. So like once the content's up, you don't want it to just die or get buried on the website. So what should brands be doing to really push that content and get the most mileage out of it?
Yeah. So there's a few things. So one is, I mean, once it's published, promoting it everywhere, right? Emails, social media, that kind of thing. Especially like bigger pieces, like pieces that are meant to drive like a lot of traffic, or they're just meant to capture, in the B2B world, leads, but really like newsletter subscribers and that kind of thing. Like you got to push that stuff a lot harder, especially with like written content for SEO, building backlinks, that sort of thing. So mentioning it on, if you're on like podcasts, you're speaking at industry events or something like that, or like you have a team that's going out and they're writing, right? Maybe they're a travel blogger, like you sell, accessories for travel, and they're a travel blogger and they're writing on like the Points Guy and places like that. Like if they're able to, like linking back, to those pieces. So talking about them as broadly as you're able to. Sometimes paying to promote content can be really effective as well, especially in the SEO world. Like where you and I came up, Greg, and where maybe some of these like e-commerce operators have come up as well. Like the idea of paying for something feels very taboo if you're white hat, right? It's like, oh no, we don't pay for placements, right? But newsletters, like that sort of stuff, industry, like publications, that kind of thing, magazines, hell yeah, pay for that stuff, right? Really, you have to. That's how you get in there. And once you've been paying for it for a while, maybe occasionally they'll like, just because they know you, like you'll get like organic mentions and such, but like you have to pay to promote it there. So like you have to break that belief, if you have it, that I've had it and I've had to get over it, that like paying for placements is bad. No, paying for placements is how the world works. And then the other thing for SEO, for content meant for SEO purposes, if you're producing a lot of it, you also have to be keeping it up to date.
Yep.
Brands come and go, sales come and go, like that sort of stuff. And so, going back and updating content that you produced a year ago, even 6 months ago, a year ago, that kind of thing, like, keeping an eye on, having your SEO crawlers running and broken links and, kind of doing like content maintenance and that sort of stuff. But what I recommend is every 12 to 18 months or so, going back to each piece that you've produced and doing a sizable update to it. This is actually why one of our like services at Editor Ninja is actually updating content, because it helps you rank better, so in information gain, right? Like as new things come on, like content's going to stop ranking over time if you're not, you're not mentioning new brands or whatever, mentioning new things that have happened in the space or last year's great winter or bad winter or whatever it is. And so one thing I think a lot of people forget about when it comes to content for SEO is updating it, which also then it can bring it back higher in your site architecture, so it's going to rank better and all of that. And you can re-promote it, as kind of a new piece, even if it's been out for a long time. So I think those are the things that brands from an SEO perspective should be doing to get more mileage out of it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So this is a fun question. What are brands getting right? And then also, what are they getting wrong when it comes to content production and kind of the distribution promotion side? What are you seeing?
Yeah. So a couple of things. Number one is, especially with SEO content, they're throwing a bunch of words on a page and expecting it to rank and expecting it to convert. Like they're not investing enough in quality.
Yeah.
And especially if it's like video and that sort of stuff. But even if it's written, they're just churning out a bunch of stuff. They're not, there aren't like experts kind of looking at it, making sure that all the necessary things are in there. They're not starting from a good brief that we're talking about like how to size skis and like here are the 7 brands that we need to make sure to mention and link to them and like that sort of stuff. There's just a lot of like missed opportunities in content, even today, even in 2024. Right. And dude, we've been talking about this since like 2010, 2011, and it's still happening.
Yeah.
So, maybe we're maybe who was it? Einstein with his like definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over, even when you're getting the same results. But I don't know, maybe we're just suckers for punishment, but I still believe this. And I see that, and we see brands that are willing to improve the content that they're creating. They're the ones that are winning. Right. Yeah. And so like, if you want to win, if you don't want to win, like go do your thing, whatever. But if you do want to win, quality is where it sits, especially because everyone is a content creator these days. Every brand is creating content for the most part. And so like, if you actually want to stand out, like you need to invest in quality for sure. And so it's going to mean paying people better. It's going to mean getting experts. It's going to mean having a review process, like all of that sort of stuff. And then, the other thing I think that people aren't getting right, like it's the same as ever. It's promoting your content effectively. So, we already talked about that, so we don't need to beat that horse anymore. But I will also say that, content that good, like high quality content that grabs people, right? And you're selling the vacation, not the flight, right? You're selling being out on the mountains with your friends on an epic powder day, not buying a new pair of skis, especially to like not the like, especially if you're selling to people that like they buy a pair of skis every like 6 to 8 years, not the people that want like this year's like newest line of skis or whatever. But like the content you're putting out really needs to grab people, and then content that's done well is going to spread in and of itself. So like I don't believe in and I don't think you do either, the like build it and they will come kind of thing. But if you build it right, then people are going to do the marketing for you, or more of the marketing for you after that initial push. So it's actually going to cost you less to promote it to get the same results if it's higher quality and people are like, oh my God, did you see this latest, like, this video from like so-and-so brand, right? Like people are going to
share it on social. They're going to link to it. They're going to just make that thing snowball.
And the people that you want to buy your stuff know other people that want to buy your stuff. So they're your best marketers.
I love it. Cool. So what are the best ways to measure the impact of your content efforts?
I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to if it's meeting your objectives. So, things like, you're looking for more organic traffic and sales, right? I mean, it all comes back to revenue, right? You look for more organic traffic. That's great. We're getting traffic, but is there actually an uplift in the other metrics, right? Newsletter subscribers, email list subscribers, and then ultimately sales, right? Yeah. You're looking for wider reach, looking for more followers on your social media channels and that sort of stuff. That's great. But your individual contributors that are kind of operating those channels, looking to grow it, great. Like is stuff growing? Good. But is like our sales from those channels also growing? Like really it comes down to like, there's kind of like your leading metrics, right? Like Greg, with SEO, you're selling traffic increases, right? And like at the very like top level. And I don't want to be offensive in saying that's what you're selling, but like with SEO, that's where it starts, right? Sure. But then, so that's like the leading metric, and you kind of have to do that first. And then it's okay, but are people staying? Are they subscribing? Are they buying? It's like with ads. It's like, are these ads getting served to people? Are people clicking on it? Are they submitting a lead, or are they submitting their information, and then are they getting on a call, and then are they buying? Right. So we have to take it down those down those steps. And it starts with, for SEO, especially for content, it's getting traffic there, and then all the other steps like down the funnel.
Cool. Great. All right. The $1 million question is, where do you see content going over the next few years? I keep hearing that written content's going to die. It's not dying anytime soon, but like, what are you seeing?
Yeah. So I'm not seeing it dying. I'm seeing it changing.
Yep.
So, first of all, when it comes to like video content and that sort of stuff, like I think production value just has to improve.
Yeah.
Like if you want to stand out, your content just has to be freaking awesome, and like make that your thing. It's gonna be more like kind of traditional, like TV advertising, like kind of going with the mindset of, what if every like piece of content you put out could be a Super Bowl ad, right? Because like brands go all out for Super Bowl ads, but what if you're producing a piece of content a month that was like super highly produced? Maybe it costs you $10,000-$15, but it's a Super Bowl ad, right? And it's going to spread. It's going to go viral. Have a higher chance of going viral. That sort of stuff. When it comes to written content, man, I'm kind of betting that written content is going to stick, and I think it is. But I don't see people's attention spans going back to reading long form content.
Sure.
I really don't. And so if it's educational content, it needs to be crisp. It needs to be engaging. It still needs to be obviously like well optimized for search engines and all that sort of stuff. But like, gone are the days of 5,000 plus words being written for something that can be answered in 500 because some guru, told you that it should be 5,000, plus words. Like, if users want 500 words, they want it crisp. They want the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. They're going to bounce like off of the super long stuff that is just filled with SEO crap, we could say.
I've taken all of our guides here at Stride and those 5,000 words, and I've turned them into 10 blog posts, right?
Right. Absolutely.
All little blog posts, and it works so much better.
So much better. Most of the stuff that we've produced at Editor Ninja for like educational content is 600 to 800 words.
Yeah.
And we have some longer stuff, but that's much more like thought leadership and that kind of thing. Like that, it's just not the stuff that people want to read anymore. And so really my thinking is like, if users want the shorter stuff, that's also search engines want to reward what people want. And so they want to serve up what people want because it's a better user experience. They'll come back more often. They can sell more ads. So that's what we should give them. And I think that, but this kind of content, it is, who was it? I believe it was like, I don't think it was Hemingway, but it was someone like that they were like, if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. Right. Like it is hard to write shorter, crisp content. This is where editors come in, honestly, like just making it crisper, making it better, making it communicate, what you wanted to communicate better in fewer words. Yeah, man, it's hard. It's really hard. So hard. And then I just think that like educational content is going to be harder and harder to make work, like as a marketing channel. Like I saw my friend Ryan Law, he's the editor in chief or head of content or something like that at Ahrefs. And he was basically saying that like, it's just overnight with the rise of AI, like it's just a much harder thing to make work. And we just need to be more sophisticated about how we're going about it. And honestly, and like, it kind of pains me to say this as like a, veteran SEO and then someone running a company that like we edit content, but I think fewer and fewer brands should hang their hat on content as like their main channel. And I think we need to move to it being it empowers all of the other channels that we're doing, our paid advertising, our SEO efforts, like all that sort of stuff. I don't know, man. I struggle to see it, especially for like an e-commerce brand. I struggle to see it being like the channel that like that brand should invest in, just to be completely 100% honest, as much as it pains me to say it.
No,
I just don't see it anymore.
Sure. And it can be kind of the springboard to like take that piece of content and turn it into a video and then turn it into 10 TikToks and then like whatever, right? Like it should all be part of the strategy.
Yep. And people are going to come back to it, but like take that information and then use it to build your TikTok scripts or whatever that is. Turn it into a YouTube video or start from the YouTube video and then use that to chop it up and create a blog post out of it. Like, I mean, content repurposing, right, is something that people talk about a lot. So, I think that's just kind of the direction that everything's going, and we just need to keep up with it.
Cool, man. Well, as we wrap up, do you have any final words of wisdom?
I think the big thing that I just want people to remember is that content and has to map back to your business goals. Like I see so many people just focus on the craft of it. And don't get me wrong, like the craft is amazing. And like, it's hard to create really good stuff, but like especially like as a 7-figure operator, 8-figure, like e-commerce, like business operator, you can't just let someone, go with it and not look at the results and all that. And like, and actually be willing, like actually be measuring it. How much traffic are we getting? How many how many email like list signups have we gotten? How like if you're using, I know that like, discounts, like get $15 off your first, and then get another 10% off. You give us your phone number, like that sort of stuff. Like if that's like a main way that you get people into your funnel, you get people to like buy stuff initially. How many more people are seeing that offer? Right? Like looking at that kind of thing is going to be like, it's just ultimately where the rubber meets the road. And if content isn't letting you serve your offer to more people, it's not getting more eyeballs on your products and more add to carts and all that sort of stuff. You got to rework. You got to rework it. You got to rethink it. It's just something isn't working there. And so like not being afraid to adjust, your tactics, your strategies over time, is just, I don't know. I just see too many people that they're like, I think it kind of works. So we're just going to keep our budget where it is. But like my take is like, if you're just keeping your budget where it is, that means it's not really working. So you either need to cut it or you need to make it work so you can scale it. Because if it's working and it's profitable for you, you would put as much money as you can into it. And so if you're not willing to put as much money as you can into it, if you're not willing to double down, like, it's never actually going to work. And you're going to end up with a ton of things that kind of work and nothing that really works. And that's not how you scale a business.
100%. I love it. That's a great stopping point. Thank you. Yeah. John, that was amazing. Thank you for spending, 35, 40 minutes with us today. I think you shared just a lot of fantastic information. So I appreciate you being on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man. This was a lot of fun. I talk a lot of like B2B and B2B SaaS and lead generation and such. And so it's fun to like actually get to talk to like e-commerce, like operators and owners. Cause it's just different opportunities,
Different opportunities. And the reason we focused on e-com is because I think it's more fun, right? It's way more fun than driving leads for a law firm, So, yep. And it's awesome. Cool.
For sure.
Well, that's it for today. I hope that everyone were able to pull just a couple of nuggets out of this that they can take and they can start executing for their business. So as always, take what you've learned here, make a plan, and then take massive action. So thank you everyone for joining.